Hi, welcome to the Korean Help podcast. Korean Help is a set of initiatives helping the Korean American community in the greater New York area. To learn more about us, please visit koreanhelp.org. And to start, we'll get into the articles now. JD, did you want to share first
Uh,
about the victims of the Atlanta shooting?
yes, sure. The New York Times did an article about Randy and Eric Park. They're the sons of one of the victims. Her name was Hyun Jung Grant. And so the article talks about, the struggles that they're going through. It talks about how, like many Korean mothers, Miss Hyun Jung Grant was just an amazing mother. So in between shifts working at that spa in Atlanta, she would like rush home and cook meals. Like she would cook a whole bunch at a time and then store it in the refrigerator for them. She would like clean the house in between shifts, and she would like call them every night. And it also talks about her struggles to kind of find more financial security for them. And then just, just that real, Korean mother, and then so currently, poor Randy and Eric, they're young adults. They're 22 and 21, and one thing they don't have to worry about, fortunately, is there was a GoFundMe, and the article says that some like $3 million was like provided to them by very generous, people throughout the country, and so that's one thing that's squared away, But as you might imagine, right, their whole lives have been turned upside down, and they suffer from, kind of, mental health issues, and the article says that they're not decided on how to proceed in life, whether they should work or, continue with college, and it talks about their grief, and so I think, just to start off the conversation too, a topic that we've covered, several times is kind of mental health as it relates to Korean Americans, and how there's a stigma, and how, for example, Esther Ha Foundation in the New York City Korean community, they have had this really cool success, gathering groups of people where they actually share their problems with each other, like Alcoholics Anonymous. And so, and I just wonder if Randy and Eric also, that they're maybe struggling a little more than they might have to, given our culture of, being uncomfortable about mental health issues, right? So yeah, any thoughts on these poor guys?
Yeah, I hope like they can get like all the help that they need. That's like not just financial, I guess.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, when I talk about Korean mothers, right, I don't mean to exclude the good-hearted mothers of other ethnic backgrounds, but you guys know what I'm talking about, right? With the Korean
Yeah,
moms, the sacrifice.
yeah,
Yeah, it's nice to hear that they're good financially, but I feel like growing up, like relying on my Korean mom, like especially a lot, it's like kind of tough that when someone that she wasn't just like a financial like pillar in their family, she probably did more of like the mental and like keeping them in the right path as a guiding
Yeah,
figure. So like, in that aspect, the fact that um she passed away in such a manner, it's gonna be like a long journey for them to cope with, and I hope that like they can um like deal with that in the proper way.
yeah, for sure. A good point. And Harold, that made me think of, so a lot of Korean parents somehow, they work their businesses and their jobs like so diligently, and then they also, pour so much time and energy into their children. But then also, a lot of Korean Americans in America, they go to church, and then at church they're like, also gung ho, like the early morning prayer, right? We call it sebekido, right? And they're there, like some people are 4 a.m. in the morning every day. Some churches it might be just Saturday, but it's a very common thing, right? 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. And I don't know how they do it, right? Just they don't neglect any area, and just all three areas, they're just like, just pouring their whole self into it, right? Like Julia, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I just based off the article, I would say that it also mentioned how Randy and Eric were also not very close as brothers. And so I guess by also losing their mother, I would imagine that they lost a another connection to with each other, with their among their relationship, to their background, as well as just losing a major influence in their lives. And so
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
I also think that when they also ended the article by kind of how they sat in silence for half an hour unsure what to say to each other. I can only imagine how lost they must feel
Yeah.
regarding what else they need to do to kind of get back on their feet with everything
Mhm,
else.
mhm, for sure. Yeah. And one thing that I really try to encourage like second generation Korean Americans to do is sometimes we follow in the footsteps of our parents, and we're like, rather than be communicative or expressive, we're more like reserved and shy, and that really works against us when we go for job interviews, or just in many different situations, right? So I think we need to I think that's something that we Korean Americans really need to work on actively, right? And yeah, I mean, just um, I'll say this, right, and then maybe we can move on. But like, and I'm sure that you guys have all seen this too, right? But like a Korean, especially father, they their son or daughter comes into the room, and all they'll be able to say is, "밥 먹었니?" Right? Did you eat yet? And then like so many times, like I'll watch them, and it's like inside their whole body is like aching to say something more, to have to connect with their son or daughter, but it's just culturally and the way they've been raised, like behaviorally, sometimes they're literally unable to do that, right? And they want to so desperately. I mean, some don't, right? But many I've seen, they do. They're just, but and I tell you guys, right? If I grew up totally immersed in that kind of environment, I know I'd be the same way. And I still have those traits in me, even though I was raised for a big chunk in America too. But so yeah, but I can't stress enough that we really need to actively work on that, right? Just express, communicate, connect. Don't be afraid of our emotions, right? But I don't know. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. One thing I like saw in the title is like she died working for us, and then like kind of made me realize how like um kind of like maybe not only in Korean culture, but like a lot of us like have this feeling of wanting to like pay our parents back one day, and like hopefully like support them at the end. And then
Yeah,
the fact that like um the last image they had was the mom working for them, like struggling for them, kind
yeah,
of makes me like, I don't know, feel some type of way. And I hope they like, the most important thing they can do is stick together despite having a rocky relationship with each other in the past.
yeah. Harold, those are some really good points. Yeah, amazing points. Yeah. So yeah, on that, I guess I'll kick it back to you.
Yeah. Um, I guess we'll move on to the next article from Harold, which is also kind of related to Asian hate crimes, kind of. But it's like a brighter note, I guess. Yeah, so go ahead, Harold.
Yeah, so on a little brighter note, um, as many may know, like America had a rough past with their how they how people treated Asian Americans and more specifically Chinese people. So the mayor of Antioch, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's a small city in east of San Francisco. Small city, but they made a monumental kind of decision to ceremoniously like represent their sentiment and like their kind of reconciliation with the Chinese American residents in the past, and they like kind of recognize the history in which how these Asian Americans had to deal with these harsh conditions in their community, and how even today the constant Asian hate crimes that occur. So yeah, it's one thing to kind of like post on social media or like say something or like kind of like rally together, but I think this is kind of like a big step in a way that it's a whole community and a whole city that's coming together to actually like kind of have this sorrowful collective sentiment for the Asian American community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice to see. Um, it's nice to see that. I feel like Asian American struggles are often very like overlooked.
Yeah, this is a cool find, Harold. Really interesting that they would do that like that. And I'm
Yeah,
looking
and
here. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I hope like this kind of like opens doors for like others to like kind of feel the same way and like do the same thing, like kind of like come together and actually like take the time to think about what's going on and what has happened.
Yeah, I say this not as a rant, but because it's a very, very serious thing. Our mayor in New York City, it's 2021, and he continues to talk about only about black and brown people. That's a quote. He talks about black and brown people, helping our black and brown small businesses and black and brown students. And I believe that after hearing criticism, the First Lady even apologized that Asians and other ethnic groups were excluded, such as people from the Middle East and so on and so forth. But even after that, he recently they put out a big press release about continuation of their mentorship program. And I was reading through that, and once again, they only talk about helping Black and Brown students and young people. And I mean, I'm 1000% for helping Black and Brown students and young people. But why do Asians have to be excluded? I mean, are we not residents of New York City, right? Is it not 2021? Anyways, yeah. And Harold, it's very interesting. I'm saying here that the city's Chinatown, the city had a Chinatown back from the 1800s, right? I mean, sadly, it was burned down in 1876, but that history just goes way back. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of like I don't know like another word for it, but like I guess kind of surprising that it's like now 2021 and this like happened what like 50 years back, and then now it's like we're starting to see like this type of public gathering to like actually um like actually like acknowledge what happened.
Yeah. And the vote was unanimous, and the mayor is a Black or African American, and this is very, very cool all around. Julia, did you have any thoughts on this article?
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to say that although it happened in 1876, it is kind of a long awaited apology that's being given. though I do think there's a lot more to be done. It is a small step, but again, like everyone said, it is 2021. There has to be more efforts taken, more kind of apologies that are issued, or at least not even just apologies, kind of actual attempts to provide the payback for the grievances that were committed. And it's just in the sense that even right now in New York, the Chinatown used to be much bigger, but it's constantly being gentrified.
Yeah.
Even in 2021. And it's, while we are still taking steps forward, there are also things that we're kind of going backwards at the same time,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate, but also, I guess, better than not moving forward at all.
Yeah. I also think like apologizing is one thing, but it's like it's not like necessarily like these people were the ones responsible. So I think it's a lot about just having this acknowledgement and like keep like having people talk about this type of stuff, and like this ceremony is like one of the great ways that we can do that as a people.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes you just have to say the words and you have to hear the words. Right? So, should we start to wrap up then, or?
Oh, yeah. I guess this is a good place to wrap up. To learn more about Korean Help, you can visit koreanhelp.org.